Well, thank you all very much, and Richard, thank you for the very kind introduction, and I want to thank everybody here for the incredibly warm welcome that you provided during this evening. I especially want to thank Colonel Dowling. He and Mike Porter, who I'm here with tonight, they took me up before coming to this event to see the Iwo Jima monument. It is a monument, and it's so moving, so impressive. And then to be able to connect that with MMA is really just stunning. To get to see from beginning to end of what can happen in a young man's life, and to connect that, if you would, from beginning to end, what can happen during the battle, to the war, to the aftermath, and then our appreciation for those who've served and remembrance of the valor with which they served. Adversity is something that we all face in life. You know, some adversity is sometimes you can see it coming. You may have a test coming up, an exam. That's a sense of adversity. You may have a big game coming up you've got to prepare for. That would be adversity. If you live in Harlingen, you may see a hurricane coming on occasion. That's adversity that you get to see coming days in advance. If you are deployed to go to battle, that is extreme adversity. But you will have a chance to prepare for that adversity. Other times, we don't see the adversity coming.
And that's what happened to me. Richard mentioned about how my accident happened. I could not see the faces of the people in the crowd at the time, but what I typically realize is when they hear the story about me when I was 26 years old and living in Houston, Texas, and went out for doing something I did every single day, and that is to go jogging, and then learned that what happened to me is that a tree fell on me while I was jogging, people wonder, man, how slow was that guy jogging to get hit by a falling tree? When faced by adversity, we have two choices. We can quit, we can give up, we can retreat, or you can fight it. You can persist, you can persevere. I chose the latter. I wasn't going to let my injury conquer me. Instead, I would persevere over that injury for myself, for my family, for my future. And with the grace of God, and with the good fortune that I lived in the great state of Texas, not only was I able to overcome the accident that left me in the wheelchair, but because I lived in Texas, a state that provides unbridled opportunity to everybody, I live in a state where a young man's life can literally be broken in half, and yet he can still rise up and become governor of this great state. I learned what Richard told you about, but actually is what you all are taught right here at this academy. And that is that your lives are not going to be defined by the challenges or the adversity that you face. Instead, you get to define your life by the way that you respond to those challenges. It's called character. One of the most important things that MMA does is to mold character. Character molded by the values of honor, courage, and commitment. These are universal principles that are repeated over and over again during the course of history. They are playing out even as we dine here tonight. Right now, most prolifically, is playing out in the Ukraine. Think about this. We have the Ukraine going about their merry lives, and suddenly they are attacked by Russia. They could have given up. They could have retreated. They could have given in. But they have fought valiantly. They have shown courage in the face of adversity. And they're led by a former actor and comedian. What type of defense would he put up? Would he cut and run? He was offered the opportunity to run. Remember, the United Kingdom offered him escape so he could get out of there knowing that he was going to lose his life. Instead, he uttered one of the lines that during the history of battles, this will be an often repeated line. He refused the help of escaping from the Ukraine, and he said, "The fight is here. I don't need a ride. I need ammunition." That is the courage and character of somebody who is willing to fight. And Ukraine remains free tonight because President Zelensky and the Ukrainian people have epitomized what honor, courage, and commitment to country is all about. So almost 200 years before the Russian and Ukraine war, Texas had its own version of Zelensky. Lieutenant Colonel William B. Travis, the commander at the Battle of the Alamo, faced the exact same situation. He faced a situation where he was clearly outnumbered by a larger army with more armaments, knowing that he was going to face certain death. But he faced that adversity with courage. You surely will remember that he wrote a letter to the United States, to all Americans, as he said, across the world, urging them to support the cause of freedom and independence in Texas by coming to the aid of the people who were in the confines of the Alamo. I'm going to read you a couple of lines of the letter that he wrote. "The enemy has demanded a surrender, otherwise the garrison are to be put to the sword." He said, "I answered the demand with a cannon shot, and our flag still waves proudly from the walls. I shall never surrender or retreat. I am determined to sustain myself as long as possible and die like a soldier who never forgets what is due to his own honor and to that of his country." Well, we all know that Colonel Travis and all of his fellow soldiers, they died in that battle. But it was not in vain. Their valor inspired fellow Texans to continue fighting on. And a few weeks later, they won their independence. And since then, generations of Texans and generations of Americans have been inspired by the uncommon valor that Travis demonstrated. The same values, honor, courage, and commitment. And 60 years before Texas won its independence, the United States fought its own battle for freedom. Many American soldiers at the time were little more than a ragtag team that didn't have clothing for winter, let alone for a war. They had little of any training, and they were clearly outgunned by what was then the strongest and mightiest army on the globe, the British. But it was the Americans who had the timeless character that has surfaced so many times since then, the character that you've seen from Zelensky to Travis. The Americans were armed with the character to persevere over their adversity. They knew they were fighting for a cause far bigger than themselves, the fight for freedom, and they won. Americans have answered every fight with the same commitment and with the same results. We showed it again in World War II. We didn't start that fight, but by God, we were going to finish it. Pearl Harbor was a true test of adversity. We could have quit. We could have retreated. But that is not the American way. Instead, we responded with our trademark grit. And as you all know well, one of the famous battles of that war was at Iwo Jima. One of the enduring symbols of American freedom, perseverance and dominance, came from that battle. It was when American soldiers raised the flag at Iwo Jima, showing that America was in control. And as you all know, that cast that made the national monument of that flag raising is right here, nearby MMA. That cast symbolizes more than the mold of heroism in the past. It's a mold that captures and conveys the valor that we must instill in every generation to ensure that we continue to preserve, protect, and to perpetuate the strongest, freest country in the history of the world. As you all also know, most of you, if you don't, this is interesting. Nearby where that monument stands here in Harlingen is buried a Texan from the Rio Grande Valley. His name is Harlan Block, a soldier killed in action at Iwo Jima. Like Colonel Travis, he knew he was likely not going to survive the battle. Like Colonel Travis, Harlan Block died like a soldier who never forgot what is due to his own honor and to that of his country. And before he was killed, it was Harlan Block who was holding the bottom of that flag planted on Iwo Jima, a soldier who lived and fought by the code of the Marines. So let's fast forward to today. We have a lot of challenges these days. In addition to Russia and China and the Middle East and other conflicts across the entire world, here in Texas we have fires and floods and hurricanes and pandemics and more. But this is the most important point I want to make tonight. None of those is our biggest challenge. Our biggest challenge lies in the hearts and souls of our fellow Americans. When future generations face adversity, will they be able to summon the substance that has made America the greatest country in the history of the world? Molding future generations to demonstrate honor, courage, and commitment, even in the face of adversity, that is our biggest challenge. If we achieve that, our freedom is preserved. If we fail at that, our fate is at risk. What MMA does is core to the mission of winning our future. So I want to thank MMA and for all who are involved in it, for all that it does to shape the character of young men who will ensure that America will always rise to the challenge. Thank you all, God bless you all, and God bless the United States of America. Thank you. Good. Good. Thank you, sir. I have something, sir. As I say, and there's more. Because I want to honor tonight to show my enduring respect for MMA. I have the seal of the state of Texas at the top. It says the state of Texas governor. And it's to the Marine Military Academy in Harlingen. And then I write about what a tremendous job MMA does in molding men for the future. And I want to present this to the Colonel in recognition of the incredible role that MMA plays in the great state of Texas and in the United States of America. Colonel? Thank you, sir.
I'd like to again recognize our distinguished guest, the Honorable Greg Abbott. I would also like to thank all of you for attending tonight and your support, which allows us to continue honoring leadership, giants in our community and our great nation. The revered Iwo Jima Leadership Award distinguishes leadership through honor, courage, perseverance, and hope. Each year, Marine Military Academy recognizes an extraordinary individual that embodies the principles, and we present him or her with this leadership award. This year, it is our privilege to recognize the Honorable Governor Greg Abbott of the great state of Texas, who exhibited these principles represented by this award through his tough and relentless leadership during a worldwide crisis. His resolve to ensure the safety of all his citizens and to get the children back in the classroom by supporting in-person learning and allowing tough decisions to remain with parents was welcomed throughout the state, and especially here at the Marine Military Academy. His support of the public and private schools allowed us to maintain our mission and to keep our entire MMA community safe while reaping the benefits of in-person learning. His selfless dedication to his public service is in keeping with the U.S. Marine Corps values of honor, courage, and commitment. Previous recipients of this award include Secretary of State George Shultz, Senator Kay Bay Hutchinson of Texas, Senator Eddie Lucio, former Commandants of the United States Marine Corps, to include General Alfred M. Gray and James T. Conway. Without further ado, it is my privilege and honor to present with Mr. Moxley the Iwo Jima Leadership Award to our Governor.
Wow. Yes, sir. That's big. Yes, sir.
Oh, sure. That's fine.
What's important to note here, sir, is this is actual sand from the Iwo Jima.
Is that right?
Yes, sir.
It's amazing.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, sir.
So this will be on display in the governor's office at the state capitol.
This concludes tonight's event. I know the governor's got a flight that he's got to catch, and I know there's other people that are moving fast. So again, to my parents, God bless you. To my great educators, you're amazing what you do. To our DIs that make it and are the cornerstone of our leadership, and to everyone else, thank you for supporting MMA. We'll see you next year. God bless.